In this module, we'll take a look at the second step in the decision process, recognize. We'll learn about the purpose and the features of the recognize page while I demonstrate how to use it. In the decision process, the purpose of the recognize step is to identify events similar to the one you're working on. It's modeled after the behavior of an incident commander who mentally compares what he's facing now to past experiences. As implemented in AlphaACT Fire, the system searches its knowledge base for events with characteristics similar to the ones you entered. Then it presents the top 3 events that best match what you input. These cases provide information, including the actual event outcomes, that might be useful to consider as you develop your own plan of attack for the scenario you're working. Now that we've established the purpose of the recognize step in the decision process, let's take a closer look at the recognize page. Notice again that the 6 steps of the decision process are shown along the top of the page, with the page that we're on highlighted. As you can see, the recognize page is very similar to the characterize page. It includes the simulation of the event scene, the aerial map available through the tab, the resources panel on the left, and the timer and other information along the top. Instead of a list of questions, however, the panel on the right shows the answers to the questions you entered on the characterize page. These are the cues and event characteristics that the system uses to search its database for similar events. The system also suggests other event characteristics to consider and makes it easy to add them to the list. Along the bottom of the page, the system displays the top 3 cases based on the information you input on the characterize page. So what do you do on the recognize page? The first thing is to conduct a 360-degree size-up of the event scene. Clicking the arrows on either side of the simulation lets you examine the state of the fire from all sides. While you're on the recognize page, you'll continue to receive incident updates, both as audio radio messages and as text. They represent the kind of changes you need to adapt to during a real event. As they arrive, you need to acknowledge them and factor them into your approach to the event. If incident updates have accumulated without being acknowledged, you'll see the update label flashing along the top of the page. Scenarios may have multiple updates, and a later one will not be delivered until you've acknowledged the ones before it. If the update label flashes, click Ready to have the system repeat the message. As you size up the event scene simulation and listen to the updates, you should add relevant cues to what you've already compiled. This helps the system further refine the list of cases it presents at the bottom of the The system also suggests some event characteristics for you to consider. To make the results of your size-up a little more visual, you can drag and drop the cues that you've already captured onto the simulation. You can also click on the simulation, which will open a cue entry box, and add a cue that way. As you add cues and indicators, the system adjusts the events that it presents at the bottom of the page, based on this new information. As you've already learned, a timer keeps track of how long it takes you to complete an entire scenario. But when you reach the recognize page, a second timer begins a countdown to a decision point to remind you of the importance of making prompt decisions about strategy and tactics. The system allows adequate time for you to review the information you need to help in your assessment of the situation. When the timer reaches 0, a question appears, which highlights the important things to consider in your handling of the event. If you want more time to view the event scene, you must click Hide to return to the simulation. When you do, the decision point countdown will go into negative territory, something that will negatively affect your score for the scenario. From this point, you can continue adding cues or you can move on to the Analyze page. This completes our review of the Recognize page. As a quick recap, the purpose of the Recognize page is to identify events similar to the one that you're working on. You'll do this by entering cues and event characteristics that will help the system narrow its search for the best matches. The events presented by the system at the bottom of the page will change as you provide the system more information. On the Recognize page and on other pages, you'll have to stay alert to the information about changing conditions presented through incident updates. In the next module, we'll discuss the Analyze page.